This lecture is on directions and forms. And this is some of the research that I've been doing. I kind of happened on this by chance, but I noticed a lot of the Shaolin Qigong forms and Tai Chi forms, the martial style forms, face south. Some of our Qigong forms, they face in every direction. And there, some systems, when I started this study, they just said just face east. And some of those are still out. You can do some research on that, and you can see there's different systems that they'll just face east. Usually they're older, but started to wonder like where that came from, with a deeper explanation than what we already had. So most of us have already had the third one. We'll talk about this in a second, but we've got to set that up to get to there. So the first one that I came across a paper on old Chinese characters. And there were a couple different characters, but what does this look like? It's like a house. Specifically, kind of looks like the front of a house. That went back to the directions of south and north. So this was the old Chinese character for south. Front. It could have meant front of the body or front of structure. So, keeping things in mind there, the old Chinese compasses pointed south. The maps had south at the top. Like even your shirts that you got on right now, that postnatal bagua has south at the top. It's like it's a map. All the houses were built facing south. It was the front of the structure. So that was one of the reasons why a lot of those original Tai Chi systems were also facing south. The front. If you were to do a form, where would you start it at? Start it facing front. In this case, be south. Right? Because if that's the actual word for front of the body or south, you're going to face south to start it. North was the antonym. So it meant literally to turn your back on somebody, or literally the back. So this was front and back. This was south and north. So if you lined up, here's the front of the body, I start to form, this is south. Here's the back of the body, this is north. So that would be the direction. From there, if you look at the other two directions, the second set of directions was east and west. East, the definition for that was begin or start moving. West was end, cease movement, rest, or stop. They based that off of the sun. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. We talked about the yin-yang symbol, right? It was a sundial. You started up, beginning and end. So those older systems that just faced east, begin or start moving. That was the case, and that was the older times before really the 5-phase theories and everything came out. Which way would you face? If you want to face south, you face east, right? Begin and end. I would begin here and end facing west. So that takes us to the one that most of us are familiar with. Most of us are familiar with east, benefits liver, north benefits kidneys, south benefits heart, right? West benefits lung. But the question now becomes, why? Why is that? Why did they assign that way? If you go back here, you can find the answer to that. So this is that 5-element theory, right? If we knew the east was the beginning, then we're going to start right there. That's the east. So what's the first element in the 5 phases, or the 5 elements? The first phase is wood. Wood was growth. Plant a seed, it starts to grow. Wood was also assigned to spring because that was the start of everything. So wood got assigned as the first element because wood, east beginning, wood first element. So here you have wood. So remember the sundial, right? We're going through this. So there's the first element, which is wood. Then we went to the next direction. It's kind of like the reform that you're doing. We're going counterclockwise with that one, but you're going to the next direction. We're going clockwise, right? So we're going to 2. 2. This direction is south. It's fire. That trigram is fire. So fire was in the south. Fire is also a summer. It's the second element. That's the next season that comes in. We're going to skip Earth for a second. I'll show you where that's at in a minute. So we go again to the next rotation. Oh. We're going to, I guess that is north. We'll just do that one. So here's Earth. That's late summer, right? That just happened to be in here in the next click. We go to the next rotation. Metal. In the west. That's the west. And we had the last rotation coming around, which is water. So there's that sequence and there's that determination of how they got designated. They got designated all off of that start of east. East was the beginning. Wood was the first element, right? And everybody knows this, right? Wood feeds fire. Fire creates earth. Earth creates
Metal.
Metal creates water creates. Cycle continues. So that is the easy explanation of how your assignments came to be. You'll still see some systems of Tai Chi. Always face south. You talk to people about what the system is and why it faces the way it is. Generally, they just give you the explanation of either that's the way it is in the system, or they'll give you this 5-element basis of why we face. Well, you face east because of the wood. It's in the east. Why? Nobody has that answer, though. You have that answer now. It's because that's the beginning. East is the beginning. That's what that meant. And wood was the first element. Okay? And then earth was around here. These actually have duals. So this one, they consider metal too. There's some, sometimes there's some discrepancies on those, but if you just follow those 5, I think you're going to be fine. But sometimes you'll see this is also metal. That was a heaven trigram, so they consider that metal also. So that is the lecture on why you face the direction that you face. Is there any questions? Uh-huh.